Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is CHAGGIGA Daf Chaf Aleph. We begin at the second line from the top, the beginning of the Gemara. We refer back to the Mishnah, where we had all these ma'alos, all these chumros, these aspects of chaymer, applicable to kachim and not by truma. The first one of which was madbilin kelim b'sech kelim letruma v'lo lekodesh. You may stack one kli inside the other and do tefillah in that manner. If it is for truma use, you can't do so for karbanos use. Asks the Gemara why. B'kodesh my time eloi. What's wrong with stacking in preparation for tefillah for kodesh? Amar b'ila, because of chatzitza concerns. Is because the upper kli, the inner kli, is weighing down on the outer kli and presents a barrier. Doesn't allow the water to get in between the kelim. Asks the Gemara, is this a chatzitza based concern? But if you take a look at the next part of the Mishnah, we already have an element of chatzitza. We speak about tying, untying. That's a chatzitza concern. Apparently, reisha lav mishum chatzitza. The first halacha, the one that we just mentioned, kli b'techli, is not chatzitza related. Why else would you need two examples of chatzitza concerns? The Ktani Sefer, the Mishnah continues, v'loi kemidas hakodesh midas hatruma. Kodesh has higher standards than truma. Shebekodesh matur mangivu matbul. When it comes to kachem use, you have to untie, dry, and then be matbul. V'achach kosher, and after tefillah retied. Ubetruma, however, by truma, we're not concerned about that. We assume the water gets through. Kosher. V'achach matbul, you can even tie it and then be toivel it. So we already discussed a chatzitza related concern. Why the repetition? Says Rashi, directly off to the right. Gemara, shekveda shel kli chaytzit. This is Rabbi Ila's pshat. There's a chatzitza concern. Kveda shel kli aprimi hamachbed al achitz and shemunach b'soiche chaytzitz b'fnei hamayim. Vein tvila oila loila zeh v'loila zeh. Elo kaman parach yachi afilu truma nami. So according to Rabbi Ila, there's a chatzitza concern. The kli is weighing down. Doesn't allow the water to get between the kelim. You can't be tevel either kli if it's not completely surrounded with water. And that the Gemara asked, the sefer, the malachriti, the chashav b'sefer. We have another example of a mala mentioned in the sefer, which is chatzitza based. Havatamashon chatzitza. Apparently, reisha lavashon chatzitza. It can't be that the reisha is also discussing a chatzitza based concern. You know why? Says Rashi, because if both chumras are chatzitza related, why can't the Mishnah just give us one? Lashminan degabe kodesh called the dummy the chatzitza poisel boy ubetruma le posel chatzitza gemur deraisa. If the Mishnah is just trying to tell us that when it comes to kachim, anything that resembles a chatzitza, something tied, something stacked, doesn't work. But by truma, that's okay, unless it's a proper chatzitza, that's fine. If that's the message of the Mishnah, listen to Chadib Minai. All you need is one example. One example suffices. Why the repetition and the redundancy? Answers the Gemara. Reisha v'sefer mishum chatzitza. Indeed, we have two examples of chatzitza. Utzrich, and they're both needed. Each one sends a different message. Di ashmin and reisha. If only from the first case of kli b'techli, havamina would say, over there there's real concern. You know why that doesn't work for kachim? Because the inner kli weighs down and doesn't allow water through. Aval sefer, when we speak about something tied, the leka kveda shel kli, you don't have that weighing down element. It's just tied up. Perhaps even for kachim, that wouldn't pose a concern. The water just get through the knot. I wouldn't consider it as important, as serious as the first case. V'yashmin and sefer. If only from the sefer, had we only mentioned the second halacha of the kesher, Havamina would say, you know why? Hanu time with the lekodesh loy. You know why it can't suffice for kachim? Mishum the kitra b'maya, a knot in water, ahaduki minha, that gets even firmer and stiffer and blocks out the water. Aval reisha, when it comes to a kli b'teich kli, The maya akfuya makfule, perhaps the water just separates, actually floats it up. Akfuya makfule lamana. So perhaps over there, perhaps even for kachim there's no chatzitza concern. Tzricha, that's why we need both cases. Each one contains a separate chiddush. So according to Rabbi Ila, we have two examples of chatzitza in the Mishnah, and therefore says the Gemara, Rabbi Ila tamer. Rabbi Ila is in line with his shita. Rabbi Ila, Amar Chanina Papa, Esem Malus Shanukan. Really, only 10 chumras in the Mishnah. What do you mean? We have 11. If you count them down, we have 11. So how do you get to 10? Because 2 of those 11 are based on the same precept of chatzitza. So in effect, it's only 10. And he splits them down the line, 5 and 5. Chamish Rishon is the first 5 ma'alis in the Mishnah, applied to kodesh and that chulin that we discussed yesterday. Bein lekodesh, bein lechulin shenas taras hakodesh. Whether it's really kachim or even chulin that were treated and looked after like karbanis. We had this yesterday. This fellow was extra careful with his chulin. He wants to practice, the standards of karbanis, so that he's in the habit of looking after things properly. So when he gets to a carbon, he's safe. So in any case, that is treated like a kachim. So the first 5 halachas in the Mishnah apply to both items. Achronis, the last 5, lekodesh, only applies to kachim mamish. Avaloi lechulin shenasal taras hakodesh, but not to chulin which was treated like kodesh. You know why? My time. What's the difference? Chamish kamaisa, because the first 5, the islu drora the tumah midayraisa, since they contain some element that relates to tumah midayraisa. We're going to see it pshat in Rashi soon. Gozbu Rabbanan, therefore the Chacham saw fit to apply a gzera, to apply it to both types, bein lekodesh, whether to kachim mamish, or bein lechulin shenas taras hakodesh, even to that item as well, because these are more serious concerns, as opposed to basrais, the last 5, which are strictly the Rabbanans. The last bud drora de tuma deraisa, they don't really have any association. Drora means an association. They don't relate at all to tuma deraisa. They're strictly rabbinic concerns. So therefore, Chachamim were not so concerned. Gozbu Rabbanon lekodesh. Chacham only apply it to real kachim. But lechulin shenas taras hakodesh, like Gozbu Rabbanon. But when it comes to chulin that was looked after and treated like kachim, Chacham did not apply these concerns. Let's go to Rashi, who will go through the entire list and explain to us why is it that the first 5 are more serious than the last 5. Okay, let's perhaps start from the top, second line to the top. Rabbi Ila. Rabbi Ila duki tama the reisha b'shem chatzitza. So Rabbi Ila, who explained that kli b'tech kli is a chatzitza related concern, l'tameh, he follows his track. The Amar Esam Malus Shanukan. It's a total of 10 chumras in the Mishnah. Elu shebein truma lekodesh. The chumras that apply to kachim, not to truma. 10, it's 11. Because these 2, kli b'tech kli and the not situation, they're all really one concern. Chatzitza, they count as one. And he tells us the first 5 in the Mishnah apply to chulin and kachim. Bein the chulin shenasa taras hakodesh. Afeinis alo yosem min hatruma malas halol. Chulin, which was treated like kachim, acquires the standards of kachim. Why? Because those 5 have a drara, the tumah deraisa. Let's go down the list. Chashash tumah deraisa. Kli b'tech kli. It's the first case. So although really it's the Rabbanan, because in reality we do see water going through. We're concerned that perhaps it's going to be tight enough and present a barrier, a chatzitza barrier. So technically, it can get to a deraisa concern. I'ika chatzitza tumah deraisa. If it's a real chatzitza, it's going to remain tamim min haTorah. So you have the deraisa association. See, it's not just a concern which was sort of contrived by the Rabbanan, introduced by the Rabbanan. Chacham are concerned about a chatzitza that really can affect the deraisa too. So typically you're not choitzish that this is a chatzitza, but if it's a chatzitza, it can have an effect on the deraisa. That's called drora the tumah deraisa. Let's proceed. Acharayim v'toich. This non-differentiation between the various elements of a kli. Right? So you have a kli which has a toich, the inside. Acharayim. On its back, it has some sort of makom they can use. It has a indent as well, an inverted, like a holding area. So these different makaimas shimush are considered like one. You don't differentiate. Even if the kli became tummy through mashkin, which is the rabbanon, we're not machalik. We say the whole kli is tummy. Acharayim the teich avagav the keil mishnitmu achar v'mashkin the tumah the rabbani. Askin was speaking that it didn't touch a sheretz, it touched liquids which are tummy. They can't be matami a kli. Right, wine which is tummy, oil which is tummy. It can't be makabel matami a kli, because remember a kli can only become tummy from avatuma. These aren't avatumas, these are rishons. So why is this durora the tumah derais? Mio, says Rashi, Hoda Amar Rabbanon Mashkin Mataman Kli. Why is it that the Chacham say Mashkin can Mataman Kli? Mishum Gzera the Mashkas of the Zavu. It might lead to the Kli becoming tummy through the liquids emanating from a Zav and a Zava, which are Avatuma, could go in Roika, maybe Raglav, all the liquids that come from the body of a Zava. Vahani Mataman Kli Midaraisa. These can be Mataman Kli Midaraisa. Ubetuma Daraisa, if it's really a Tumah Daraisa, Ein Chiluk Mikli Shetaf. There's no differentiation. There's no being machalik in a metal kli, let's say. Bein acharayim l'toicha, between the back and the inside. Shebachol makom shetuma negas by nitma kulay. If it comes into contact with a real roik of a zav, the whole kli becomes tummy. So when the chacham apply tumah to a typical mashka and say that it can be tumah kli, it's on account of the tumah of the rice, and therefore we equate them, we compare them, we don't differentiate, and we say that when it comes to kachim at least, we treat it as though it touched the reik of a zav, and even if it touched the outside, the whole thing becomes tummy. So once again, it's somewhat related. It can lead to tumah derais. What's the next case? No, he says a medras, nami. Well, that's pasha. He's holding a medras zav on one hand and kachim on the other hand. Chashash tumah derais. Because the Farish Gemara, Maser Shaya, Shenafla Ritzos HaSandal Aver Chavis. It's pasha. It can come into contact with the other item in his other hand. The next case is Bigda Echlet Truma, Midras the Kodesh. The clothing of a fellow who is careful to eat Truma but Tahara is considered tummy relative to a person who's eating kachim. Why? Shema Yashval and Nishta Nida, we're concerned that perhaps Anida sat on it. That's Achshash Tumah Deiraisi. Because relative to the fellow who's eating kachim, the shmira of the Echel Truma is considered worthless and ineffective. And therefore he has to treat it as though it became tummy Deiraisi. Kelam and Igmar and Betahara, that was the next case. You produced a kli and you washed it, right? Because as soon as it gets done, it can become tummy. As soon as it's a gemar kli, he made sure nobody touched. We're concerned perhaps a customer walked by and his a little saliva of this customer touched the kli. Shema zavu, maybe it was a zav. So all these chumras aren't just contrived, aren't just concocted. They have some basis to them. They're based on not just some basis. It's based on a real deraisa. It's associated with deraises. So this chumrah is a higher level chumrah, and therefore the Gemara says it applies to kachim or to chulin shenasu ataras hakodesh, as opposed to the last five, which are lower level chumras, not really associated or related to tumah deraises, and therefore only applies to true kachim. Continues the Gemara. So let's go back to that first halacha. Kli b'toich kli. What's wrong? According to Rabbi Ila, chatzitz. Says the Gemara, 6 lines from the bottom. Rava Amar. I'll give you another pshat. With the seifa have mishum chatzitz. You see, once the Mishnah already discusses chatzitza later, let's assume that the reisha is lav mishum chatzitza. The first halacha, the kli b'kli, is unrelated to chatzitza. So what then is the concern? Reisha hani time. You know what the problem is? If you allow him to be tovel a kli inside the other, you know what could happen next time? He'll put it into a kli which has a very narrow mouth. He'll put machten v'tzinoris, needles and some sort of forks, little utensils. He'll put it into a kli she'ein bepiv k'sheferes hanoid, whose mouth is not wide enough like a shveferes hanoid. The noid is a leather pouch, and this shveferes is some sort of cylinder, some sort of straw, which was used to transport, to extract a liquid of this noid. And that was established as a shear. when connecting liquids. If you want the liquid inside a kli to be considered connected to the mikveh, you have to have a wide enough mouth. Sheveres hanoid. Apparently this is a din deraisa, l'chomeshim sinai. By the way, that's what we do in today's mikvahs. We fill our mikveh with plain water, tap water, but then there's a hole in the wall that has this width, the size of sheveres hanoid. Going to learn soon, it means 2 fingers wide. And that connects the water inside the mikveh that we use to the rainwater pit situated alongside, and that makes that connection. It's considered like one body of water. So let's say it has a kli that has a wide mouth. That's okay. You can put anything in there and put it into the mikveh because it's all connected to the mikveh. But if it's a narrow opening, not wide enough to be considered sheveres hanoid, you know what happens? The water in the kli becomes ma'im she'uven, drawn water, like in a pail. It's out of the mikveh, disconnected from the mikveh. He puts his machat in there. He wasn't tevel the machat of the mikveh. Kedisnan, as we're going to learn in a Mishnah. Irav mikvahs, kish sheveres hanoid. You want to mix together mikvahs. The hole between them has to be wide enough, like a sheveres hanoid, ka'evyo ka'chalala. The thickness of the sheveres hanoid and like the gap, like the space. Meaning, basically, the chalal is the empty space inside the straw, and the oivya is the width of the walls as well. So basically, it's the entire sheferes. How wide is that? Kishtei boys, about 2 finger widths, which can be rolled around from side to side, which is really a bit more than 2 finger widths to give that extra wiggle space. So that's how wide a sheferes hanoid is, and that's how much space you need between 2 mikvahs to connect the two. That's how wide the hole has to be. So according to Rabbi, that's the concern in the Reisha. You shouldn't be teva kli b'tei for kachim, because although right now perhaps your kli is wide enough and the water within it is considered connected to the mikvah, perhaps next time it's going to be a narrow kli, which will in effect disconnect the water of the kli from the mikvah. You have something in there to be tevel. It wasn't in the mikvah. So according to Rava, this is not chatzitza related. It's a totally different concern. And therefore, according to him, we have 11 ma'alos in the Mishnah. According to Rav Ilu, we only had 10 because 2 of the 11 were really chatzitza based. According to Rava, it says not even chatzitza, it's really 11. He had aleph ma'alos shanukan. And he splits them halfway down the line, 6 and 5 actually. Sheish Rishon is the first 6, which we learned are more severe, more chomer, they relate to Tumah D'Oraisa. So we applied bein l'kodesh, whether to kachim mamish, or bein l'chulin, shenasal taras hakodesh. Whereas the 5 bottom ones in the Mishnah, the last 5 achroines, only applied l'kodesh, avaloi l'chulin, shenasal taras hakodesh. So bottom line of today's daf is, we have the halacha of kelim b'tach kelim. It only works for truma, not for kodesh. What's the reason? What's wrong with stacking a kli? According to Rabbi Ilu, because a chatzitza concern is generated. Kveda shakli chaytitz. And in effect, we only have 10 malos in the Mishnah because 2 of the 11 are chatzitza based. And according to Rava, chatzitza is only discussed later in the Seifa, but in the Reisha, kli b'tech kli, is because of this chashash. The next time it might be a narrow mouth, narrower than a sheferes hanoid, which will not allow for that connection. And you might put a machat or a tzinor inside that kli, and it's going to be disconnected from the mikvah, and the tefillah won't work. Therefore, we disallow any type of tefillah which is kli b'tei kli. Okay, we'll continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. That's it for today. Hatzlacha Rav and all the best.